Chapter 20. Cooper, Tuesday, October 16th, 5:45 p.m. Pass the milk, would you, Cooperstown? Pop jerks his chin at me during dinner, his eyes drifting towards the muted television in our living room where college football scores scroll along the bottom of the screen. So, what'd you do with your nights off? He thinks it's hilarious that Louis posed as me after the gym yesterday. I hand over the curtain and picture myself answering his question honestly. Hung out with Chris, the guy I'm in love with. Yeah, Pop, I said guy. No, Pop, I'm not kidding. He he's a pre-med freshman at UCSD who does modeling on the side. Told a cat you'd love him. And Pop's head explodes, and that's how it always ends in my imagination. Just drove around for a while, I say instead. Not ashamed to, I'm not ashamed of Chris, I'm not, but it's complicated. The thing is, I didn't realize I could feel that way about a guy till I met him. I mean, yeah, I suspected since I was 11 or so, but I buried those thoughts as far down as I could because I'm a southern jock shooting for the MLB career, and that's not how we're supposed to be wired. I really did believe that for most of my life. I've always had a girlfriend, but it was never hard to hold off till marriage like I was raised. I only recently understood that it was more of an excuse than a deeply held moral belief. I've been lying to Keely for months, but I did tell her the truth about Chris. I met him through baseball, although he doesn't play. He's friends with another guy I made exhibition rounds with, who invited us both to his birthday party, and he is German. I just left out the part about being in love with him. I can't admit that to anybody yet. It's not just a phase or experimentation or distraction or pressure. Nani was right. My stomach does flip when Chris calls or texts me every single time. When I'm with him, I feel like a real person, not the robot Keely called me, programmed to perform as expected. But Cooper and Chris only exist in the bubble of his apartment. Moving it anyplace else scares the hell out of me. For one thing, it's hard enough making it in baseball when you're a regular guy. The number of openly gay players who are part of the major league team stands at exactly one, and he's still in the minors. For another thing, Pop, my whole brain seizes when I imagine his reaction. He's a kind of good old boy who calls gay people fags, and he thinks we all spend our time hitting on straight guys. The one time we saw a news story about the gay baseball player, he snorted in disgust and said, normal guys shouldn't have to deal with that crap in the locker room. If I tell him about Chris and me, 17 years of being the perfect son would be gone in an instant. He never looked at me the same, the way he's looking at me now, even though I'm a murder suspect who's been accused of using steroids. That he can handle. Testings tomorrow. He reminds me, I have to get tested for steroids every damn week now in the meantime, I keep pitching, and no, my fastball hasn't gotten any slower because I haven't been lying. I didn't cheat. I strategically improved. It was Pop's idea. He wanted me to hold back a little junior year, not give it my all, so there'd be more excitement around me during the showcase season. And there was. People like Josh Flange noticed me, but now, of course, it looks suspicious. Thanks, Pop. At least he feels guilty about it. I was sure when the police got ready to show me the unpublished About That post last month that I was going to read something about Chris and me. I barely know Simon, only talked with him one-on-one a few times, but anytime I got near him, I'd worry about him learning my secret. Last spring at junior prom, he'd been drunk off his ass, and when I ran into him in the bathroom, he flung an arm around me and pulled me in so close I practically had a panic attack. I was sure that Simon, who'd never had a girlfriend as far as I knew, I was gay, was putting the moves on me. I freaked out so bad I had Vanessa disinvite him to her after prom party, and Vanessa, who never passes up a chance to exclude somebody, was happy to do it. I let it stand even after I saw Simon hitting on Keely later with the kind of intensity you can't fake. I didn't let myself think about that since Simon died. How last time I talked to him, I acted like a jerk because I couldn't deal with who I was. The worst part is, even after all this, I still can't. Nate, Tuesday, October 16th, 6 p.m. When I get to Glenn's Diner half an hour after I'm supposed to meet my mother, her Kia is parked right out front. Score for the new and improved version, I guess. I wouldn't have been at all surprised if she didn't show. I thought about doing the same, a lot, but pretending she doesn't exist hasn't worked out that well. I parked my bike a few spaces away from her car, feeling the first drops of rain hit my shoulders before I entered the restaurant. The hostess looks up at me with a polite, critical expression. I'm meeting somebody. Macaulay, I say. She nods and points to a corner booth. Right over there. I can tell my mother's already been there for a while. Her soda's almost empty and she's torn her straw wrapper to shreds. When I stand in the street from across from her, I pick up a menu and scan it carefully to avoid her eyes. You order? Oh no, I was waiting for you. I can practically feel her willing me to look up. I wish I weren't there. Do you want a hamburger, Nathaniel? You used to love Glenn's hamburgers. I did, and I do, but I want to order anything else. It's Nate, okay? Sat my menu shut and stare at the gray drizzle peering out the window. Nobody calls me that anymore. Nate, she says, but my name sounds strange coming from her. One of those words you say over and over again till it loses a meaning. Waitress comes by and I order a Coke and a club sandwich I don't want. My brother phone buzzes in my pocket and I pull it out to text from Bronwyn. Hope it's going okay. I feel a jolt to warmth, but I put my phone back without answering. I don't know words to tell Bronwyn what it's like to have lunch with a ghost. Nate, Mother clears her throat around the name. It still sounds wrong. How are you doing in school? Do you still like science? Christ, you still like science. I've been in remedial classes since ninth grade, but how would she know? Progress reports came home, I faked my father's signature, and they go back. Nobody ever questions them. Can you pay for this? I asked, gesturing around the table, like the belligerent asshole I've turned into in the past 5 minutes. Because I can't, so if you're expecting that, you should tell me before the food comes. Her face sags, and I feel a pointless stab of triumph. Nate, I would never. Well, why should you believe me? She pulls out a wallet and puts a couple of 20s on the table, and I feel like shit until I think about the bills I keep tossing into the trash instead of paying. Now that I'm not earning anything, my father's disability check barely covers the mortgage, utilities, and alcohol. How do you have money when you've been in rehab for months? The waitress returns with a glass of Coke for me, and my mother waits until she leaves to answer. One of the doctors at Pine Valley, that's the facility I've been in, connected me with a medical prescription company. I can work anywhere, and it's very steady. She brushes her hand against mine, and I jerk away. I can help you and your father out, Nate. I will. I want to ask you, if you have a letter for the investigation, we could look into that. Somehow, I managed not to laugh. Whatever she's making is not enough to pay a lawyer. I'm good. She keeps trying to ask about school, Simon, probation, my dad. It almost gets to me because she's different than I remember, calmer and even more tempted, but then she asks, how's Bronwyn handling all this? Nope. Every time I think about Bronwyn, my body reacts like I'm back on the couch in our media room, heart pounding, blood rushing, skin tingling. I'm not about to turn the one good thing that's come out of this mess into yet another awkward conversation with my mother, which means we've pretty much run out of things to say. Thank God the food's around so we can stop trying to pretend the last 3 years have never happened. Even though my sandwich tastes like nothing, like dust is better than that. My mother doesn't take the hint. She keeps bringing up Oregon and her doctors and Mikhail Powers investigates until I feel as if I'm about to choke. Pull at the neck of my t-shirt like that'll help me breathe, but it doesn't. I can't sit there listening to her promises and hoping it'll all work out, that she'll stay sober, stay employed, stay sane, just stay. I have to go, I say abruptly, dropping my half-eaten sandwich onto my plate. I get up, banging my knee on the edge of the table so hard I wince, and walk out without looking at her. I know she won't come after me. That's not how she operates. When I get outside, I'm confused at first because I can't see my bike. It wedged between a couple of huge Range Rovers that weren't there before. I make my way towards them, then suddenly a guy who's overdressed for Glenn Stoner steps in front of me with a blinding smile. I recognize him right away, but look through him as if I don't. Nate Macaulay? Mikhail Powers, you're a hard man to find, you know that? Thrilled to make your acquaintance. We're working on our follow-up broadcast to Simon Kelleher investigation. I'd love your take. How would I buy you a coffee and say we talk for a few minutes? I climb onto my bike and strap on my helmet. I didn't hear him. I get ready to back up, but a couple producers types block my way. How about you tell your people to move? He smiles as widely as ever. I'm not your enemy, Nate. The court of public opinion matters in a case like this. What do you say we get them on your side? Mother appears in the parking lot, her mouth falling open when she sees who's next to me. I slowly reverse my bike until the people in the way move, and I got a clear path. If she wants to help me, she can talk to them.